right room. But I'll tell you the quick story with this. It came from a trip in 2018. My wife and I, pre-COVID, we're going over and play in Europe every year, and really love going and playing there. But we always build in some time on the front end or the back end of the trip to just go see things. And this year, that particular year, we built in some time to go about an hour south of Rome. We'd finished the tour in Rome, and we wanted to go about an hour south. And the reason that I did that is because my grandfather fought in a big World War II battle there, and at the beach, Anzio Beach, Battle of Anzio. And so I'd heard about it my whole life. It was a big part of our family story. And then before I went, though, I really wanted to know the real truth about it, like what it was really about. So I read up on it, and the story is it was the surprise invasion of Europe from the south, the way that Normandy was from the north. And the surprise part worked. It was Canadian, British, and American troops. They took this beach by surprise. But the general that was in charge later ended up getting relieved of command for this decision, but he screwed up big time. And instead of taking advantage of the surprise, he held his troops on the beach and waited for reinforcements that were supposed to be coming. And in the meantime, the Italians and the Germans found out about it. He took over the cliffs above, and they pinned these guys down on this beach. And 30,000 troops for 6 months, from January to June 1944. And so, I wanted to see that firsthand. And I had been to Normandy, and the impressive thing about Normandy is the scope of it, how big it is. And so they had to get all the way from here, all the way over there, and being shot at the whole time, and that's what's unbelievable about it. So I got to Anzio, and I was kind of expecting the same thing, and it was exactly the opposite. It was tiny. It was just a tiny beach, and I just couldn't believe that many people lived there for that long. It just changed everything. And I remember my grandfather saying he shared 3 different foxholes with people that died next to him. He lived and they died, and it was that close. It was a matter of inches whether you lived or died. And so I thought, if he had been on the wrong side of that foxhole, or if he had stuck his head up at the wrong time, or moved left instead of right, then I wouldn't be there to be looking at it. So I had the idea to write this song, and then during 2020, I called my friend Drew Kennedy, and we wrote this. It's called French Summer Sun. Heard the quiet buzzing of a fly. For a second he wasn't quite sure what it was, till it tickled his face and he opened his eyes on a beach in the French summer sun. With sulfur in the air and the smell of something worse, he leaned up on his elbow and looked around, wiped some blood from his face, and saw his buddy James mangled and torn apart on the ground. Well, the medics got to him, and he thanked God they did. He spent 27 days in a field hospital before making the slow trip home to the States, minus one leg, which still seemed impossible. Got a job sorting mail at the Birmingham post office, 5 days a week, enough pay to get by. He met a beautiful girl through a mutual friend. 11 months later, that girl was his wife. The nightmares were often and so vivid and real, he'd wake up screaming a few times a week. She was patient and kind and stayed by his side, and in time he found a more restful sleep. By the next year they had him a son who got drafted when he turned 18. He went off to fight, but he came back whole, met my mom, and they had me. I come from a long line of soldiers whose blood's still flowing through me. They fought in fields and foreign lands so I could be where I wanted to be. Well, I broke the streak and I went to college instead of Kabul or Kuwait. Earned my degree and I got hired to teach Shakespeare and Wordsworth and Yeats. At a decent sized high school outside of Atlanta, and I did the best that I could. Yeah, that's heady stuff for kids that age, but all in all, I think I did some good. And I come from a long line of soldiers whose blood's still flowing through me. They fought in fields and foreign lands so I could be who I wanted to be. He heard the quiet buzzing of a fly. For a second he wasn't quite sure what it was, till it tickled his face and he opened his eyes, and then he died there in that French summer sun. And that girl he would have met sorting mail back in Birmingham, she met a lawyer and they fell in love. So their story ends before it began, on that beach in the French summer sun. And that child she had, well, that wasn't my dad, and I wasn't ever his son. So my story ends before it began, on that beach in the French summer sun. And I come from a long line of soldiers whose blood flowed into the sea. And war took more than just one life. It took him and his son and me.